What I was most concerned with and interested in is this show being in Chicago, and the Elite just came back last Saturday at Full Gear. So Young Bucks had already hinted to this in their Twitter bio. Chicago, this should be interesting. We knew that potentially they could get an interesting reaction from the crowd. Now, this week, Kenny Omega also did an interview with Sports Illustrated that was released, I think today, because that's when everybody was talking about it, where he kind of mentioned the whole CM Punk All Out situation and said, look, we can't talk about it. We cannot talk about it. You're not going to get any new information. None of us are allowed to talk about it, so we can't. He feels that everybody should just let it go, which even though I agree with him, I laugh hysterically at that. Let it go? Let it go, you say, Kenny. Is that what you say? Is Kenny met wrestling fans? Not sure if you realized this before or not, Kenny, but wrestling fans don't really let things go. They hold on to things for a long time. And they're not capable of letting shit go. They don't have it in them. They don't have it in them to live and let live. They're going to follow. And once they decide they're going to go nuts on something, they're going to go nuts on something. So you're not going to be able to talk the people away. Oh, don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. There was nothing to see with CM Punk. Dude stayed silent for 8 years. And his name was still chanted at every fucking wrestling show. I mean, he wasn't totally silent, but he was out of the spotlight largely for a large period of time. Even when he came back into the UFC, you didn't really see him until he was, in the ring getting the shit kicked out of him. So he was basically not even around for 8 years, and he was still chanted in every arena, at least in WWE, every night. Mostly, correct? So I don't think people are just going to let it go. And that situation is so juicy. It's like the screw job. After the screw job, I wanted to know every goddamn detail of what happened. I wanted to know what Brett ate for lunch. I wanted to know what color his poop was that morning. I wanted to know everything I could find out about that situation. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same way about this because it's juicy and it's fun. A lot of this stuff most times is more interesting than the stupid storylines we see on TV. So you can't blame fans for being interested in this situation if you're Kenny. But I do believe Kenny is right. Even though I'm making fun of him, I think he's right. Fans should let this go. We should move on from it, especially if you can't get any resolution. It's just over. It's done with. Nobody can speak about anything. So why continue to speculate and ask questions and concoct your own stories in your head when none of it can be substantiated at all? So I understand that. But then tonight, the Elite come out there, and it does not look like Kenny is living up to the words that he was speaking in that Sports Illustrated interview. However, you could look at this two ways. If you're an Elite hater, if you're somebody who does not like the Elite and the Young Bucks, and there's a shit ton of those people online, you're going to look at this situation and think Kenny Omega is a hypocrite. The way I look at this situation is that this will be confirmed next week on Dynamite, but the way I look at it is everything we saw the Elite do here was because they were in Chicago. So many people have been saying, wow, after what we saw there, I don't know how CM Punk doesn't come back. He's probably coming back. He's going to come back and make some money, and they're going to turn this into an angle. Greg would love that more than anybody. Trust me. I think that would be fantastic if they did that, but I've just really had a hard time believing that was ever going to be possible. And I have a hard time believing, based on the words that came out of CM Punk's mouth and the aftermath that happened just 2 months ago, that somehow shit could be resolved enough at this point where you can already see a future of Punk coming back and working together and all of this, for all of these parties to come back and agree, let's make a storyline out of this. I just don't think CM Punk has that type of cooperation in him. Punk had 8 years to do that. That's why I don't buy into this. That's why I don't buy into believing that Punk is a shoo-in to come back because of what we saw. I think what we saw was a reaction to Chicago. Being in Chicago, they couldn't have came out there and done nothing. They had to do something. They absolutely had to do something to that Chicago crowd to acknowledge the situation, because since the wrestlers can't talk about it, they can talk in other ways. That's why I think Tony Khan brought in Colt Cabana to work with Jericho. Since they can't really speak on the situation, they can get messages across in other ways. And I thought that maybe this could be an interesting way for the Elite to do that. But they were in Chicago. You knew the Chicago crowd was going to be on them, so they were going to have to acknowledge it or do something. I would expect them to do that. If they didn't, I would have thought it was lame. What? You fuckers were in Chicago and you didn't even do, what's a CM Punk move? You didn't even do a GTS? What the fuck? You didn't look at your watch and say it's clobbering time. You didn't drink a Pepsi, nothing like that. I would have been disappointed. I was like, you call yourselves wrestlers. Go out there with this golden opportunity just to troll this fucking rabid audience and you pass? But no, that's what some of the elite haters think should have been done. Mr. Sensitive Pants doesn't want the elite to talk bad about CM Punk. I'm sorry. I'm sorry your feelings are that hurt. And why is it that it seems like the people that hate the elite the most are also the type of people that have a huge problem with wokeness and cancel culture and snowflakes and all that stuff, and yet they whine. These people call themselves EVPs. I saw that going around because on Being the Elite that returned to YouTube this week, they showed a clip of the fuck CM Punk chants from Full Gear. We had fuck CM Punk chants tonight. We also had regular CM Punk chants tonight. But all because the elite showed a 4-second clip of fuck CM Punk chants in the 30-minute Being the Elite episode. You had all these tweets. Oh, look at these guys. They call themselves EVPs. Oh, yeah, these immature children EVPs. Maybe they should take advice from real EVPs. And, I don't know, cheat on their wives. Stick their tongue down a diva's throat in front of their paraplegic wife. Fuck a corpse, perhaps. Maybe go into New York City and speak in an Arab accent to anyone wearing a turban. Like, how can you say that? How can you criticize the behavior of an EVP while at the same time praising some of the fucked up shit that not only Vince McMahon has done, but Mr. Big Nose himself, Triple H? You think he didn't know about Vince's behind closed doors affairs and hush money and all this stuff? Triple H helped cover that shit up, don't forget. So don't act like because they're just taking a shot at the dude that threw punches at them in the locker room, that is unforgivable. That's unprofessional. Oh, I can't believe they call themselves EVPs. Bitch, look at who's on the other side. Vince McMahon's disgusting. He was at the head of WWE for 40 years, fucking everything that moved, saying the N-word on Monday Night Raw, doing God knows what to God knows which diva on a daily basis, backstage and on camera. Completely fucking gross. Triple H, drugs his wife and marries her in Vegas. And, remember when DX went to New York City and they walked around the city? When I see these snowflake woke-hating people get so upset about something like that, I'm like, I thought you were an alpha male. Thought you were a tough guy. Thought you had thick skin. That's what you say to everybody else, right? You need to have thicker skin. These AEW guys need to have thicker skin. No, I think you need to have thicker skin. I think they have thick skin. You're the bitch up here with one layer. So I don't see any point in whining about that, thinking it was unprofessional. If you think it was unprofessional, you're no fun. Sorry to tell you, you're no fun. You're miserable. You probably suck at parties. Nobody likes you. You're probably just no fun. Have some fun. What's it to you? To be offended for CM Punk, this fucking asshole that's sitting on a mountain of money, doesn't give two rat turds about you. I don't understand why going, and I like CM Punk. I'm a monumental CM Punk fan. If he did come back and did a program here and made this whole thing an angle with the elite, I'd be the first one marking out for it. But I just don't think that's going to happen. And I certainly don't blame Kenny and the Bucks because you have to put yourselves in their shoes. If from their perspective, from where they sit, they are in the right and CM Punk was in the wrong. And from their perspective, why wouldn't they go out there and take a shot at him? So I think that they all think they're telling the truth as they know it. And Punk probably believes he is right, and the elite probably believe they are right. But all we know is what we know. And what we know is what we heard come out of CM Punk's mouth, and then we heard the multiple accounts of the backstage fight, all of which seems to match. Most people corroborate that Punk threw the first punch and all of that stuff. So you can still pick what side you want to choose here, but you shouldn't bullshit yourself either. And so I don't think that the elite doing that isn't out of bounds. It's pro wrestling. Everything's goddamn in bounds, if you ask me. I loved it. And here's the way to prove it to you. If CM Punk, let's just say for argument's sake, hypothetically, if he got out of his his AEW contract, Tony Khan let him go. He goes to WWE. I would absolutely expect him to throw some shade at AEW in his first promo. He's not going to make his entire promo about that when he returns to WWE, but he's definitely going to let you guys know of the little children he played with on the other side. Sound familiar? Lex Luger did the same goddamn thing when he went to Nitro. And he goes, I got sick and tired of playing with little kids, so I came here. It's what you're supposed to do. So I think CM Punk, if he went to WWE, he would definitely acknowledge his time in AEW. He would insult it. The announcers would snicker under their breath. And he would probably do a couple of things here and there that would be a little cheap shot at AEW. And guess what? That's perfectly fine. And I think fans should let that happen, allow it to happen. It has nothing to do with you. There's no reason for you to be offended about this. Let them do it. Let them work out their issues, however they're going to, through wrestling channels or whatever. And if we are lucky enough to get these 4 idiots coming together to actually work a program out of this whole situation when CM Punk is healthy again, then that's just bonus. And you've already planted a whole bunch of seeds for build here.